Assassin's Creed Shadows is the latest entry in the long-running franchise of parkour, stealth kills, and piles of hay. Today, my girlfriend Ellie will have 5 hours to play the game and get as far as she can. She can do whatever and go wherever she wants while I document her journey along the way. Let's jump in and see how she did, and a big thanks to Ubisoft for providing us access to the game. This was our first episode featuring a more traditional style open world game since Skyrim, so I was excited to see what trouble we'd get into.
Okay, this is our first ever Assassin's Creed game that we're playing for this series. This is also the first game that you are playing that I've never played, so this is a big deal.
I want to note that I'm going to be glossing over the story details of what we experience. Given how new the game is, I want to spoil as little as possible. That being said, if you want to play the game completely blind, you may want to bookmark this one until you're a few hours into the game. We began by playing as one of the game's 2 protagonists, Yasuke, as he journeys over to Japan.
It's kind of hot.
After learning of his astute warrior instincts, we flash forward to find that Yasuke has settled into his new home country. Ellie was thrown right into some combat where she flexed her sword skills. Her most recent adjacent game was Elden Ring, which was, of course, very challenging, so Ellie immediately took to the relative ease of things here. Combat is frenetic and less contemplative than that of a From game, at least initially. Light and heavy sword attacks are used to dispatch enemies, with both parrying and dodging required to fight most effectively.
Oh,
Oh my god.
little decapitation, okay.
Like more recent AC games, Shadows appears to feature a leveling system that prevents the player from handling enemies that exceed their level too much, turning the game into more of an RPG than older Assassin's Creeds.
I'm taking names. What is going on? Why are they all following me? I don't know where I'm going.
Now that some of the initial combat was completed, Ellie was having trouble figuring out where to go. She needed to consult the waypoint at the top of the screen, but didn't seem to notice it yet. Eventually she found her way forward, but I was curious if she'd be plagued with any navigational issues as we continued forward.
My one-man army.
I bet all of his other soldiers are like, what the hell? We were also doing stuff that whole time and he never compliments us.
Probably.
After some more exposition, we shifted into the shoes of Naue, a native to these lands, who intends to fight to keep them free and clear of invading forces. The mechanics of combat are the same regardless of your character, but Naue features a more agile fighting style, which makes sense given her smaller stature. After defending a village, we acquire a classic piece of Assassin's Creed gear.
I want one of those.
It's like Spider-Man.
With our fresh blade in tow, we're sent to procure a box. What's in the box? We don't know, but it's important and we gotta get it. The trek there provided some more combat practice, as well as exposure to a little stealth, a vital component of this series.
Ooh.
Assassination.
Oh.
Assassination.
Soon enough, we made it to our destination and got the box, but wouldn't you know it, we didn't get to hold on to it for very long. Thankfully, we're rescued and taken back to heal after our big hit to the face. Naue is scrappy though, and not content to wait for very long. We set back out to reclaim the box. After a short horseback ride, we arrived at the fortress housing the goods. After arrival, she was instructed to climb a nearby tower, but again, Ellie didn't seem to notice the waypoint and instructions.
I don't know what to do. Oh, it says climb the tower. I didn't ever read that.
Oh, okay, there we go. She respawned and now understood what she needed to do, but didn't realize how to do it. Again, as is customary in open world games, this blue diamond at the top of the screen was guiding her, but Ellie wasn't following it. She instead assumed that she needed to fight through these 2 guards at the front gate. She gave it the old college try, but they were clearly a lot stronger than what she was capable of at this point. The game was communicating to Ellie that she was doing the wrong thing, and she was listening. This time around, she managed to find the tower and climbed up. I'm not certain if she noticed the waypoint or just stumbled onto it, but either way, we were in, baby. It was time for the customary dive into some hay.
Bloop.
Oh, wow. Such a bouncy pile of hay.
This area presented a more open space in which to fight, affording the player a little more creativity in how they dispatch the various enemies. Ellie assassinated a few unsuspecting guards, but eventually found herself in some hand-to-hand combat. The enemies here are no pushovers, making stealth a valuable tool. She tried to stay hidden, but that's easier said than done. Ellie jumped over some rooftops and used Naue's grappling hook to progress further into the fortress.
I'm getting crafty as hell.
You're getting crafty. You're getting crafty.
We made it further inside, but these guys intended to put up a fight. If we were going to get out of this place alive, we needed to get even craftier. Back in action, Ellie was instructed to reach a high place in order to observe the samurai. This time, Ellie was focusing on the waypoint marker, which was only a few meters ahead of her, but she didn't seem to understand the diamond's position relative to her. I wanted to talk through this so Ellie could understand for the future.
Like, not like on your compass area, but look at it. Look at the actual dot.
Like to
On
the
the
far
screen.
left
Yeah.
right now. It's straight ahead.
And then 6 meters away.
So is it this thing?
With everything scouted, she took down her first major target and snagged the mysterious box. Of course, this maneuver brought about a lot of attention, so it was time to get the hell out of here.
Jump to this and grapple. That's annoying. Okay, I just want to die again or some shit. Bless you. Okay. Too much is going on. Too much is going on. Too much is going on. I don't like
You are
this.
quick to frustrate. You are quick to frustrate.
I know.
Just take a breath. It's
I
okay.
know.
Consequence for death, very low. Very low. Roughly 5 seconds of repeated game. Very low.
This is fun. We're just having fun. This is an adventure. You know you have to escape. Part of the fun is just figuring out how you do it. If you mess up, it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Despite her frustrations, we made it out with the box, but man, it just doesn't seem like we're meant to hold on to it for very long. This time though, it's not just one person who takes the box, but a whole fleet of them. They take it and leave Naue in, let's just say, very rough shape. Thankfully, the bad guys just leave us for dead, which allows us to be rescued.
You.
I love him.
I'm getting out of here.
Back in relative safety, it's time for a little flashback. Let off with the classic trope of using a wooden sword trading session to function as a tutorial. After that, we spent some time in the village completing an errand for one of the elders. A high vantage point would enable us to figure out what was damaging the village's crops.
Ooh. Wow.
Whoa.
We eventually tracked the clues into the woods, where we found a couple of dudes that were stealing our resources. They weren't interested in leaving quietly, so we needed to teach them a lesson.
Oh no.
I'm on fire. I gotta stop, drop, and roll or some shit.
We chased them out of town and got some soup as a reward. We eventually returned to present day, where we met our benevolent rescuers, this kind older man and Junjiro. Oh man, Junjiro. This guy is probably my favorite video game character, maybe ever. I'm not even joking.
Did you do this, Junjiro?
I don't paint like that anymore.
I
So
don't.
gifted.
I don't paint like that anymore.
That was when I was 5.
Over the course of many moons, we nursed ourselves back to health, tended to mostly by Junjiro. I'm telling you, this little man is a saint. He even taught us his fabled painting techniques. Sweet, pure Junjiro.
Junjiro. We should get him for an interview.
Sadly, we'd finally recovered back to full health, so it was time to say goodbye.
I wasn't ready to say goodbye to Genjuro.
Ooh. Oh, look at that cool pose.
Just as we were let out into the world to begin exploring, Ellie leveled up, giving her a mastery point to allocate it to one of her available skill trees. I love skill trees, and AC Shadows offers quite a few to sink your teeth into. We haven't really dealt with this mechanic much in the series, but now it was time. Unsurprisingly, Ellie had some choice paralysis, but she spent the points and moved on. With that done, we could begin exploring the world as we made our way to the next objective. Ellie found a shrine, and it seemed like the developers were paying attention to Japan's culture.
I was like, you can't go into shrines with shoes on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, there's no way they're gonna let a character run in there with shoes on. So I thought it would maybe stop me. Look, gone. I knew for the cultural lore, they would not let that be a thing.
She found a spot to meditate, thinking it would just take a few seconds and we'd be on our way. To our surprise,
You meditated us into a flashback.
I don't want to do that. I thought I was just doing something cool.
Ellie had no choice but to complete the mission. It covered an instance in which our village was being invaded before now I had much in the way of fighting experience. Because of this, the player is forced to incorporate stealth to sneak past members of the opposition.
Oh, fuck.
That was weird.
Oh my god.
We had some close calls, but eventually, Naue got sucked into the battle. It was time for a little duel. This brute is well armored, but it was clear that Ellie had the basics of combat down. A perfectly timed parry or dodge opens the enemy up for a counterattack, and while she wasn't much for the former, Ellie was quickly becoming proficient with avoidance.
Damn,
Ooh.
I was so close.
You were.
The checkpoint was pretty far back, but she retread the ground and this time took down the brute for good. Completion of this fight took us back to present day with some cool little dogs to pet. Back out in the world, we were able to soak in its beauty. Some colorful vegetation, some tranquil wildlife. Things were looking good back in the 16th century. I'm not sure quite how much freedom Ellie possessed at this point, but now that she had familiarized herself with the waypoint as a guide, she started traveling straight for it whenever she would see it. We headed back to find our old friend Tomiko, who seemed to be doing well.
Come, I'll pour sake.
Let's drink. Let's drink. Sake time. Whoop whoop.
Tomiko offered up her land as a hideout for our cause. After gathering up some materials, we were thrust into a whole new menu where we could upgrade the hideout with new structures and decorations. It's been a while since I played an Assassin's Creed game, so I kind of forgot just how much content this series tends to offer the player. Slightly overwhelmed, Ellie decided to just move on and revisit the hideout if she had the time.
Who's this?
Jinjiro.
Yo.
Junjiro, sorry.
Whoa! What a pleasant surprise. It's okay.
I've come to stay with you.
Yay!
Oh baby, Junjiro is back!
And I've come to stay with you.
I'm so giddy.
With home base established, we were instructed to head over to Sakai and granted what appeared to be quite a bit of freedom. A new menu revealed our targets, all of the individuals who were present when our box was stolen. It was time to set things right.
I get overstimulated by these headphones. I think that's why I don't like them. I feel like they're pulling out of my ear and they're in my hair.
Ellie set off into the wider world, where she began recruiting people to our homestead. Before getting too far, Ellie chatted up an old woman who seemed a little unhinged. The kind soul that she is, Ellie decided to give her some money.
If you do not want my curse, I do not want your mom. Be grateful and go!
Whoa. She scares me.
I won't let me hit her. Okay.
Maybe we should just move on. We passed by another meditation spot, which does appear to always trigger a flashback side mission. Ellie wasn't in the mood to head back to the past right now, so she opted to continue exploring.
So these are enemies?
I
They
guess.
eating this thing?
Quite the interesting cast of characters in this game. As we progressed, we were again able to soak in the beauty of the world. The vegetation blows convincingly in the wind, the raindrops ripple in bodies of water. Cool stuff. The start of the game was focused on establishing our characters and story in relatively linear fashion, but now it seemed like we had more opportunity to stop and smell the roses, as it were. Eventually, Ellie arrived at her mission destination, where she was tasked with killing all the enemies in the vicinity. After all the punishment she'd faced in From games, I think it was refreshing for her to engage in combat that wasn't so punishing. It still provided a challenge and kept her on her toes, but the difficulty was much more in line with what she was used to and what she would enjoy. Most of the games we've covered so far in this series, From or otherwise, are pretty hard. It's fun to see how someone manages that challenge, but so too is it enjoyable to see how a player progresses when not so encumbered by adversity.
The way they have the lighting set up, it's like he's in a studio with a black backdrop.
We moved on from the temple, but Ellie couldn't remember where she was next instructed to go. She didn't notice the objectives tab at the top of the menu, and for now, I wanted to give her a chance to discover that for herself. By the time she had paused the game, it was dark and rainy, conditions that Ellie wasn't fond of. While examining the map, she found a different mission that pertained to a different questline, and since it was so close by, she decided to focus on that. The mission required her to track down some gunsmiths in a nearby village. The game is really dark at night, which I love, but was making the search more rigorous. She eventually found the gunsmiths and was instructed to eavesdrop on them.
They're talking like this close to me. That looks suspicious.
The gunsmiths ran away, but they could only run so long from Ellie the assassin.
Oh my god. Was I supposed to kill someone? And now I'm just a murderer.
You've already killed like 40 people.
But they weren't like evil.
You attacked an old woman with a sword earlier.
Ellie now needed to continue searching the village for an individual. The sun had risen, but we still hadn't found the person we were looking for. Ellie was in what was known as the investigation zone, which meant that her target was somewhere close by, but she wasn't going to get a specific marker to indicate where they were. Generally, I'm not a big fan of searching for something like this, and it appeared that Ellie wasn't either.
Empty.
That's our YouTube. Why you spend so much time in that room?
I kept getting stuck. I wasn't meaning to. It kept climbing that thing on the right. I didn't mean to.
I know.
I didn't mean
I
to.
know,
It
Liz.
was
I
an
know.
accident.
That's why it's so funny. Oh no, get out of here. Get out of here.
This is my own personal hell.
She searched, and she searched, and she searched, but it wasn't gonna happen. I haven't played the game, so I have no clue where they were, but that didn't matter now. It was time to fast travel back to the hideout and say hey to Junjiro.
Junjiro.
He's walking like a pregnant woman.
Oh, he's got a belly. I want to talk to him.
He is on the move.
Okay, we got our fix. Now it was time to head back into the world, but not before we determined where we were supposed to go. Unlike most other open world games, Assassin's Creed Shadows doesn't just hand over this information. Using some rudimentary directions, the player has to find the general area of the next waypoint on the map, and then scout the location, revealing the quest marker. As Ellie determined where to go next, it was time for the viewer question of the week.
Our good friend Kerbal asks, does Ellie prefer open world games or more linear games?
I think I would prefer linear over open world in general, but I've played open world games that I really like I really loved Red Dead. The thing I like about open world is having a clear quest to go do next and being able to avoid like a main part of a linear story if I'm getting stuck a lot. I never feel like I have to go do that thing. Like there's a lot of times where it's like, I don't want to progress that yet. So I think that's nice about open world, but I also think it's really daunting. Open world can feel really freeing because you can just go do whatever you wanted, but sometimes if it doesn't feel like there's a lot of linear things I know I can go do, then it's too much for me.
If you'd like to hear your question read in a future video, feel free to leave one in the comments of this video. And to hear us answer many more questions in much greater depth, plus a bunch of other bonus content, consider joining the Patreon, which is linked in this video's description.
Whoa.
So he can't swim anymore? Is my horse stuck?
I don't know what's going on. Oh, there he goes.
That was really scary. I thought I was gonna kill him. He's like posted up here too. Whoa. He's like, get on! I'm coming!
We headed towards the next objective and ended up at a waterfall where we were instructed to retrieve a statue. Unsurprisingly, it was located in a village of bad guys. Ellie was continuing to sharpen her combat abilities as she was incorporating a charge attack into her playstyle. A lot of the enemies were little more than pushovers, but some posed a bigger threat. Add on top of that the enemy's plentiful quantity, and you had a respectable challenge.
That was a mercy kill because he was.
Whoa! Whoa, he has an extra life.
Well, so it seems like you are enjoying Assassin's Creed Shadows. Fair to say you like the game?
Yeah, I like the blood. Yeah, I'm having a really good time. Overall, I found the progression really fun. I think it looks really beautiful, so it's a fun world to be in. I like playing as her. And I just foresee myself able to play it a long time without getting burnt out because there's so many options for what I can do.
Ellie had made a lot of progress, but perhaps more than any other game in this series so far, Assassin's Creed Shadows demonstrates the degree to which 5 hours of play can barely scratch the game's surface. There was so much more to see and do that it felt like things had barely begun, which is a good thing as Ellie was more than willing to jump back in. While we go find Junjiro, why not check out another episode of the show? And as always, I want to issue a humongous thank you to our patrons and channel members who help keep this channel running. Your generosity means more than you know. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.